even though I'm now okay. Now, never mind. We're live on YouTube and Twitch now, which is great. Hello, everybody. I'm glad that I was able to get that working a half an hour into the show. That thrills me. Um, so check out the Score 1260 YouTube channel or twitch.tv/marker_box, which is also my Twitter handle if you would like to follow me on there, marker_box. You can now actually see the stream. I was just going live from my phone for a second, but then this started working, of course. So we've got the whole thing set up. Hear the microphone and the air sound from the studio. Got a camera set up in here. You can head over to those if you want to chat with me. I'll, of course, read your chat out and we can have a discussion, whether it be about the U.S. Open, whether it be about college baseball, which we're about to get into, Syracuse sports. I was having a conversation yesterday with a buddy of mine, friend of the show, Pat Burke, about Syracuse football. And we sort of went through the schedule and trying to figure out how many wins are there. He's a lot higher on some teams than I am. He said SU, the Vegas number's at 7.5. He said that's going to be pretty close. I said hammer the over. I think they're going to win 9 or 10 games. But it is interesting to look at the schedule and look at the talent coming in that realistically, I've mentioned on the show before, I think this could be a 10, 11, not going to say 12, even though anything can happen, but 10, 11 win team. Ohio, that's going to be an easy win. The Ohio University Bobcats. Georgia Tech, I don't think is very good. Think we beat Georgia Tech at home. Stanford was 3-9 last year. That's at home. Easy. Holy Cross should be easy. They were good in their conference last year, but should be an easy win. So you start off 4-0 at home. Then you go on the road for 3 games, UNLV, NC State, and Pitt. I think you come out of that 2-1. That's a great stretch. Yes, Jim, it does work now, thankfully. Virginia Tech, Boston College, Cal. I think you can afford to lose one of those games. So again, 2-1 in that stretch. Fine with. Then you end with Connecticut and Miami. Connecticut's an easy win. Miami could go either way. They're going to be probably our toughest test in conference. So I'm seeing 2, maybe 3 losses there. This is a 9 or 10 win team. Vegas has the over under at 7.5. I would absolutely hammer that, if I'm being honest. Granted, you can't do that in New York State, sadly, with that very strange rule that you can't bet on college sports that take place in your state. Whatever. Or not that take place in your state, but teams that are based in your home state or the state where you are betting from, you are not allowed to gamble on. But the college sports you can gamble on is the College World Series. And we had 2 doozies of games yesterday. Game 1, North Carolina, Virginia, UNC walking off the Virginia Cavaliers, which, by the way, I would like to mention. There are 4 ACC teams in the College World Series. And Syracuse still doesn't have a baseball team. Boo. Boo and hiss is what I say to that. But North Carolina, Virginia, Mr. Honeycutt for UNC walking off the Virginia Cavaliers. And then game 2, Tennessee, the number 1 overall seed, who at times this year appear to be unbeatable. The Vols are so good this year. They walk off Florida State 12-11. An absolute back and forth bloodbath affair for any pitcher involved in that one in Omaha, Nebraska. No games today. Or actually, the second bracket's today, excuse me. 2 games today. Kentucky, NC State, that's at 2 o'clock on ESPN. Texas A&M and Florida, that's at 7 o'clock on ESPN, the official home of the College World Series. And I know I will be following along on my phone. I will not be able to watch today, but I will be following along. because this, and I do this every year, folks. So if you've heard me say this before, it's that time of year where I get on my soapbox and I tell everyone to watch college baseball. If you are a baseball fan in any capacity, there is no excuse to not watch college baseball. It is a great product. Now, granted, the biggest thing with college baseball is the amount of errors is certainly higher than the professional level. The defense isn't quite as honed at this point in a player's life. But that's fine. If you can live with a couple stupid errors that you might see over the course of a game, you will see a fantastic product with stars like Jack Caglione at Florida, like Charlie Condon at Georgia, who sadly they are no longer in the tournament, but absolute studs. Charlie Condon hit like 34 home runs this year for Georgia. They play 60 games or so. Not even. Probably 50. It's not just a place where you'll see the future of the major leagues. Because I've watched a lot of really good players in college. Dansby Swanson and Walker Buehler when they were at Vanderbilt. My personal favorite college baseball player ever, Andrew Benintendi, when he was at Arkansas, my beloved Razorbacks, who I complained last week about them getting eliminated. It's not just about that. Because a lot of these guys won't make it to the next level. And if they do, they could fizzle out in Double A. That's one of the tragedies of baseball is you don't know who's going to make it and who's not. You can watch Jack Caglione, who do I think he's going to be very good in the major leagues? Yes, I do. He's a two-way superstar out of Florida. Probably going to make it more as a hitter. But do I think he'll make it? Yeah. Do I know? Absolutely not. No one knows. But you get to see, I'd say, the most fun brand of baseball outside of the Savannah Bananas. Because these kids are having a ball. Because they know that a lot of them, this is going to be the highest level of organized baseball that they play. Division I college baseball. And so they go out having an absolute blast. Granted, some of the rules that have been enforced, namely regarding celebrations, are very stupid. And you'll see players get penalized for things that I think are not something they should be penalized for. A home run celebration, all that good stuff. But you see great players. You see fun kids having fun and a level of competitiveness that is refreshing to see at the college level. So here I am once again saying over the next week, watch college baseball. Do it. It's on ESPN every day. It's on today, tomorrow. It's on the next day. It's on the next day. For the next week, going up until June 24th, you'll be able to watch college baseball on ESPN. And I implore you to do so because you won't see a more fun brand of baseball outside of the Savannah Bananas. Take a timeout. We'll be right back here on Outside the Box Score. Local craft beer, the only place you need to go is Myers Creek Brewing Company with 16 brews on tap at both the Cazenovia and Inner Harbor locations. Myers Creek has the best selection of locally brewed libations in all of central New York. Want a nice hazy IPA? The Velvet Fog is a must-try. More of a traditional Pilsner, how about the Floatin' on By? And for you sour drinkers, the It Takes Blue to Mango. So crack open a cold one with the official beer of Outside the Box Score, Myers Creek.
eBay Motors is here for the ride.
Yes, it was the wrong day for a solo show. I was sitting here trying to figure this out for so long. It just kept telling me, oh, traffic's too high, traffic's too high, traffic's too... I don't care. Your server should be able to handle any amount of traffic. You're a website that I pay to subscribe to that is strictly for things like this. It's brutal. Like I said, I had just started streaming on my phone. God. Yeah, Manchild put a virus in the system. I do think they should do this more. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the streamer vibe of it because, I kind of come from a streaming background. I used to stream video games on Twitch back in the day. Yeah, Josh is currently playing golf and not worrying about a damn thing. Jim, I'm curious. I was talking about this earlier. I wasn't, I'm not sure if you were here for that. That's true. We could just, they could just put up a screen. But Jim, I got a question for you. You get plopped on the first tee at Pinehurst #2 today. What are you shooting? Because like I said, I'm a 9 handicap. I'm shooting a 115, 120. Easily. $149. Yeah, that. You gonna be playing today, Jimmy? You got a beautiful day for it. I don't know if O-Town's. I also don't hit it far enough off the tee, but I don't know if O-Town's as nice as it is down here. But you probably get out today. Where do you normally play? Are you a Tamarack guy, Stone Creek, or are you a member at Oswego? What's Jim's home course? Battle Island. Battle's a fun course, man. I played there a few times in college. Is it in good shape now? When I played there, I mean, this is a few years ago, but when I used to play there, it was always in okay shape, but not, compared to like Green Lakes, which is also a state park. I thought it could have been better. I'm glad it's in better shape now. I gotta get back out to Battle Island. It's been years. And I liked that course, and I never played it in good weather. Oh, they got a new superintendent. Well, that's good. Yeah, every time I played there, it was like 55 degrees and raining. Oh, nice. And we're back outside the box score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the Score 1260. Finally, the show's in full. live on Twitch and YouTube as I am every week. Like I said earlier, check out twitch.tv/marker_box or the Score 1260 YouTube channel. Live on both of those right now as we speak. We've talked a lot on this show about gambling. I'm a gambler. I know Jim in the chat's a gambler. Josh has been a gambler in the past. Talk a lot about, it could be baseball, basketball, football. I enjoy sports betting. I also think that, and this is going to sound strange, it being legal now is a very big problem. And maybe I'm outing myself a little bit here, but I used to be a little more old school in how I would gamble on sports, if you know what I mean. I've been doing it for a little bit longer than DraftKings has been available on my phone, or FanDuel, which is the one I use. We once again have another gambling scandal in Major League Baseball. And this time, it's pretty bad. It seems like. Now, we obviously had the Shohei Ohtani and Ippei problem from earlier this year. Shohei Ohtani, of course, not involved at all, but Ippei stole millions of dollars from him so he could gamble on baseball. That's a problem. He's facing a lot of time in prison because of it. We just had a major leaguer receive a lifetime ban for betting on games that he was involved in, which is a big no-no. Just ask Shoeless Joe Jackson or Pete Rose. Big time no-no. And now, maybe the most troubling of them all is we've got an umpire. And not just any umpire. If you're a baseball nerd like me, and you follow umpire scorecards on Twitter, you're very familiar with Pat Hoberg because he is regarded as the most accurate umpire in Major League Baseball in regards to balls and strikes. Well, he is now being punished for gambling on the sport that he's umpiring. Pat Hoberg has not called a game all year. He has not been behind the plate. He has not been in the bases. He has not umpired at all. 37 years old, had a perfect performance in Game 2 of the 2022 World Series. Played umpire, called all 129 balls and strikes correctly. Now they're saying that he was gambling on games. We haven't seen this since Tim Donaghy in 2007, the NBA official. And he was sentenced to 15 months in prison, federal prison, because he was fixing games. There's no evidence right now that Pat Hoberg was fixing games. I'm going to say that. Pat Hoberg denies any allegation that he's ever gambled on baseball, which, that's a good start. At least he denies it for now. A lot of these guys just seem to be, oh, I got caught, and they go away. But if we've got umpires betting on baseball, the men and women that influence the very flow of the game, that's bad. That's really bad. And I'm only somewhat pro robo-umps. But there is no better excuse for Major League Baseball to go to either the ABS system, like the challenge system, or full robo-ump than this. Hopefully it's just Pat Hoberg. Hopefully it isn't Pat Hoberg. Hopefully this is a false accusation. Because like I said, he's the best ball strike umpire in baseball, and I don't want to miss that. But this is a real problem that we're seeing in every league. It's not just baseball, but baseball's the one that right now people just keep getting caught. And Jim brought up, it's not that legal is the problem. It just makes it easier for these guys to get caught. Yeah, it also just makes it easier for anyone to do it. And that's a conversation for another day, probably. But when anyone can do it, the consequences seem to go out the window. When I'm watching the U.S. Open and I see 5 FanDuel commercials about how easy it is to just throw a few bucks down and make things interesting, there are legitimate consequences for gambling on sports, both monetary and, in this case, disciplinary consequences that seem to that fly under the radar now due to the normalization of it. I think that's a problem. And Jim says the players' officials really should just use an interpreter. Listen, I was as skeptical about the Shohei Ohtani situation as anybody. I'm willing to admit that it was just Ippei, and he's just a scumbag who stole money from one of his best friends for a crippling gambling addiction. We got one more timeout to take. We'll be right back here on Outside the Box Score, your home for local sports in Syracuse on the Score 1260. For the best local beer in central New York, the only place you need to look is Myers Creek Brewing Company, with 16 different beers on tap at both the Inner Harbor in Syracuse and the Palace that is the Cazenovia location. Myers Creek has something for everyone. Want a bite to eat? Both locations feature a kitchen with delicious pizzas, some of the best wings in Syracuse, and much more. Make sure to check out our friends at Myers Creek Brewing Company, the official bar of Outside the Box Score.
Ready to take your career to the next level?
What a show. What a show. This is a very short break, by the way, so we'll be back in just a second. Hey, shout out Francesco Molinari for making an ace on the 18th hole yesterday to make the cut. Put him at 5 under, right on the cut line, and he ended up making the cut. So, shout out Francesco. It was pretty cool to see. And we're back outside the box score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the Score 1260. Wrapping up a interesting hour. We had some streaming issues, but we're back. And now we are just going to wrap things up. I do want to mention, before we get out of here, on this show at times I like to just talk about broadcasting. I did it last week with the passing of Bill Walton. I am very much a broadcast nerd when it comes to sports. I love going back and listening to the greats and listening to all sorts of guys going on that do it right now. And one of the best, I'd say the best studio analyst, is leaving us next year. Charles Barkley's going to retire. And next year is going to be the last season of Inside the NBA, which is the best sports show on television. And Barkley said, you know what? I'm not doing this without my guys. Ernie, Chuck, and Kenny. Or Ernie, Shaq, and Kenny, excuse me. Along with Chuck. And I just wanted to say, an ode to Inside the NBA and an ode to Charles Barkley, who has now delved into the world of golf, working on the match that they always air on TNT, and it even has a show on CNN now where he talks about politics. It's actually quite interesting. Charles at one point was going to run for the governor of Alabama, and he would have won it too if he ran, in my opinion. He is the best part of that show. He's absolutely hilarious, whether he's talking about Galveston or San Antonio or anything, any of the jokes he's made. Oh, I didn't realize the CNN show got dropped. It was an interesting show. I did watch it a couple times. But Chuckster's the absolute man, and it's going to be weird watching NBA coverage without Charles Barkley moving forward. He's been adamant that he's never going to work anywhere except TNT, and the NBA rights are up in the air for 2 years from now. We've got NBC interested, which is something I predicted to my dad like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was like, I think NBC is going to get the NBA. But I'm going to miss him, man. And you can put anyone in that chair, but it's always going to be Charles Barkley's chair for the rest of NBA coverage on TNT. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, 11 a.m. right here on the Score 1260. Peace.